Okay, I want to give you some of the background of what's going on when we actually do these calculations. So I have 2 points, 2 comma 2, and negative 4 comma 2. I'm sorry, negative 4 comma negative 2. Let's start with slope. So when we do this thing and we say, okay, 2 to negative 4, what we're actually doing, that's the x value. So we're going from here to here. And how far is that? It's down 6. When we do, sorry about that. When we go from 2 to negative 2, we're figuring out how far up or down we need to go. We need to go down 4. That's this piece here. So we have down 4 and down 6. Right? So the slope is the rise over the run. So it's that negative 4 over negative 6. Now that can reduce down to 2/3. Negative divided by a negative is positive, and 4 over 6 reduces to 2/3. So that's the slope. The midpoint is going half that distance. So half of negative 6 would be negative 3, and half of negative 4 would be negative 2. So if we go down 3, down 2, we get to the midpoint, which is at negative 1, 0. Now what we do with these numbers is 2 minus 3 is negative 1, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So these numbers here and here tell us how to get to the midpoint. Okay, and then the last thing, so sorry, the midpoint is actually negative 1 comma 0. The distance, you'll see that this line and this line, along with the original orange line, make a 90-degree angle. Actually, these two make a 90-degree angle, so we have a right triangle. Okay, so what we can do is actually use the Pythagorean theorem to find this length of the orange line. So we're going to take negative 4. Now we could just use 4 because we're dealing with a triangle, but negative 4 squared, notice the negatives in parentheses, especially on your calculator, make sure it's on your in parentheses. Negative 6 squared. Okay, we do that on our calculator. Here's what I'm talking about in parentheses. So negative 4 squared plus negative 6 squared, and we get 52. Okay, remember that we then need to take the square root of that answer. So the square root of 52 is about 7.21. Okay, so that's what's going on. Here it is again real quick. Again, when we do this, here's negative 6 comma 6, 10 all the way over to 10 negative 2. So when we do this piece, negative 6 to 10, we're actually counting how far it is this way, and that would be up 16. And then when we do this, 6 to negative 2, we'd go down 8. That's actually this line right here, down 8. I should have put 16 over here. Okay, so the slope would be the negative 8 over the 16, rise over run, distance over y, and over distance over x. That reduces to negative 1/2. Okay, for midpoint, we're going half these distances, so you could do it on a grid and count. Half of 16 is 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right there. Half of this would be here, so the midpoint would be right here. That's one way to do it on a grid. It would be at 2 comma 2. If we don't have a grid, we could split the 16 in half, that's 8. Split the negative 8 in half, that's negative 4. Negative 6 plus 8 is 2. 6 plus negative 4 is 2. So you could also do it that way. For distance, we take the 16, square it. We take the negative 8, again in parentheses, especially on your calculator, and square it. Right, so 16 squared plus, again, notice parentheses around the negative number, and you get 320. If you get 192, you did not put parentheses around the negative. You have to do that or else it's not going to come out right. So that answer again was 320. And then we take the square root of that to get the distance. So you could leave it the square root of 320. You could find the simplest radical form, or in real life, you'd probably just get a decimal distance, 7.89. Okay, and that's the length of that orange line, 17.89 units, however long those things are. So that's kind of the background of what's going on when we do all these calculations on the actual grid itself.